I remember exactly what I was wearing that night. My navy blazer with the restaurant's logo embroidered on the pocket. The one I'd had specially made when we first opened. Funny how you remember the smallest details when your entire world is about to collapse. I'd left the National Restaurant Association conference in Chicago a day early. The keynote speaker had canceled, and honestly, I was exhausted. 10 years of running Bella Notte, my Italian restaurant in downtown Portland, and I still couldn't take a full weekend off without feeling guilty. But that Thursday evening, sitting in that hotel room, I just wanted to be home. I wanted to sleep in my own bed. I wanted to walk through my restaurant one more time before the weekend rush. I didn't tell anyone I was coming back early. Not my head chef, Marcus, who I'd hired fresh out of culinary school 8 years ago and trained myself. Not my business partner, Rachel, who'd been my best friend since we were 7 years old, sharing lunchboxes in 2nd grade. Not even my parents, though my dad had been calling me daily about restaurant business he wanted to discuss. The flight landed at 9:30. By 10:15, I was pulling into the back parking lot of Bella Notte. I'd planned to grab some paperwork from my office and head home. That's when I noticed the lights were on. All of them. The dining room, the kitchen, even the private event space on the 2nd floor that we only used for special occasions. My first thought was that Marcus had forgotten to close up properly. It wouldn't be the first time he'd gotten caught up in recipe development and lost track of time. But then I saw the cars. 5 of them in the lot. Including Rachel's silver Audi and my father's black Mercedes. Something felt wrong. I used my key for the back entrance, the one that led directly into the kitchen. The moment I stepped inside, I heard it. Laughter. Music. The clink of glasses. And something else. Something that made my blood run cold. Cooking sounds. Someone was cooking in my kitchen. I walked down the hallway, past the dry storage, past the walk-in cooler. The kitchen doors were propped open. I could see figures moving inside, could smell garlic and wine and fresh bread. As I got closer, I heard Marcus' voice. "Okay, everyone, this is the signature dish. The one that's going to put Marcello's on the map." Marcello's? I stepped into the doorway. The scene before me felt like something out of a nightmare. Marcus was at my stove, my Viking range that I'd saved for 2 years to buy. He was plating something, his movements confident and practiced. Around him stood Rachel, my sous chef Thomas, a woman I didn't recognize with a camera, and my father. They were all smiling. On the stainless steel prep counter, the one where we developed every dish on Bella Notte's menu, sat a spread of food. Beautiful, elegant dishes. Some of them looked familiar. Too familiar. The secret, Marcus was saying, is in the sauce. I've been perfecting this for months. Nobody makes osso buco like this. Not even. That's when he saw me. The wooden spoon fell from his hand, clattering against the burner. His face went white. "Michelle." His voice was barely a whisper. Everyone turned. Rachel's smile froze on her face. Tomas grabbed the counter like he needed to steady himself. My father, however, looked annoyed. Actually annoyed that I was there. In my own restaurant. "Michelle," my father said, his tone the same one he'd used when I was 16 and came home past curfew. "What are you doing here? I thought you weren't back until Saturday." I couldn't speak. I was looking at the menu cards laid out on the counter. Elegant black cards with gold lettering. Marcello's. A new chapter in Italian fine dining. Opening spring 2025. "What, I finally managed, is going on?" The woman with the camera, clearly uncomfortable, mumbled something about coming back later and hurried out. Smart woman. Marcus stepped forward, his hands raised like he was approaching a wild animal. "Michelle, listen, this isn't what it looks like." "Really?" My voice was surprisingly steady. "Because it looks like you're throwing a launch party for a new restaurant in my kitchen. Using my equipment. Cooking what appears to be my recipes." "They're not your recipes," Marcus said quickly. Too quickly. "I mean, I developed these. On my own time." I walked to the prep counter and picked up one of the cards. Braised short rib with porcini gnocchi. That was my recipe. I'd spent 6 months perfecting that gnocchi, testing different potato ratios, different flours. The porcini powder was from a specific supplier I'd found on a trip to Seattle. On your own time? I repeated. Using my kitchen. My ingredients? My suppliers. Rachel finally found her voice. Michelle, sweetie, please don't be upset. This is actually a good thing. It's an opportunity for all of us. Opportunity. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Marcus has been wanting to open his own place for years, Rachel continued, her voice taking on that soothing tone she used when she was trying to manage me. And I think it's time. He's ready. And Tomas wants to go with him, as his sous chef. I looked at Tomas. 24 years old. I'd found him working at a diner, seen something special in the way he approached food, and brought him to Bella Notte. I'd taught him everything. How to butcher. How to make mother sauces. How to run a station during a Saturday night rush. He couldn't meet my eyes. So this is what? I asked. Your resignation? Both of you? It doesn't have to be like that, Marcus said. We can work together. Marcello's won't be competition. It's a different concept. More modern, more innovative. Bella Notte can keep doing its traditional thing. Traditional thing. He said it like my restaurant was a museum piece. And you're helping them? I turned to Rachel. My business partner is helping my head chef open a competing restaurant? It's not competing, Rachel insisted. Michelle, you have to understand. This is business. Marcus came to me with a solid proposal. The numbers work. And your father agreed. I turned to my father. He was leaning against my office door, arms crossed, looking at me with that expression he'd worn my entire life. The one that said I was being dramatic. Emotional. Difficult. Dad? Michelle. I've invested $200,000 in Marcello's. It's a good opportunity. Marcus is talented, and the market can support another high-end Italian restaurant. Portland's food scene is booming. You invested. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. In a restaurant that's being built on my recipes, using my staff, funded by my business partner. They're not your recipes, my father said, his voice sharp. Marcus developed those dishes while working here. That's industry standard. Chefs move on. They take their knowledge with them. Don't be naive. Naive. He'd called me naive. I was the one who'd worked 3 jobs to save money for culinary school. While he told me to get a real career. I was the one who'd maxed out my credit cards, taken a second mortgage on my condo, begged suppliers for payment plans, all to open Bella Notte. I was the one who'd woken up at 4 a.m. for 10 years straight to prep, to plan, to make sure every single dish that left my kitchen was perfect. And he called me naive. When I opened Bella Notte, I said slowly, you told me it would fail within a year. You said restaurants were money pits. You refused to invest even $5,000. But you'll give $200,000 to Marcus? That was different. You were younger, inexperienced. Marcus has worked at one of the best restaurants in Portland for 8 years. He knows what he's doing. I laughed. I actually laughed. It was either that or scream. He worked at one of the best restaurants in Portland because I hired him. I trained him. I gave him opportunities. And this is how he repays me? Michelle, stop being so emotional, my mother's voice came from the doorway. I hadn't even seen her come in. This is business. Marcus deserves a chance to build something of his own. You should be proud that you trained him so well. Proud. She wanted me to be proud. And you think it's appropriate, I said, turning to face her, that he's launching it from my kitchen? That Rachel, my partner, my friend, is funding it behind my back? Behind your back? Rachel's voice took on an edge. Michelle. I've been trying to talk to you about diversifying our investments for months. You're so controlling about every little thing at Bella Notte that you won't even discuss other opportunities. Because Bella Notte is our business. My voice rose despite my best efforts. We're partners. 50-50. That means we make decisions together. That means you don't fund my head chef's competing restaurant without even telling me. See? Rachel looked at my parents like I was proving her point. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Everything is always, my restaurant, my kitchen, my recipes. Michelle, I've been your silent partner for 10 years. I've supported every decision you've made. Maybe it's time you supported mine. Silent partner. Is that what she thought she'd been? Yes, I ran the day-to-day operations. Yes, I was the chef, the face of the restaurant. But she was the CFO. She managed the books, the investors, the business side. We'd built this together. Or so I'd thought. So what is this? I looked around at all of them. An intervention? You all decided I need to learn to share. We decided, my father said, that you need to grow up. Marcus has every right to pursue his own restaurant. Tomas has every right to work where he wants. And Rachel has every right to invest her money how she sees fit. Her money? I turned to Rachel. That's Bella Notte's profit sharing. The money we reinvest or distribute. That's partnership money. Rachel had the grace to look uncomfortable. For a moment. Actually, she said, pulling out her phone. I've been meaning to talk to you about that. I think we need to restructure our partnership agreement. I've been doing some research, and given the amount of work I put into the business side, I think a 60-40 split would be more fair. With me at 60. The floor seemed to tilt under my feet. 60-40. I manage all the finances, all the legal issues, all the vendor contracts. You just cook, Michelle. I handle everything else. Just cook. 10 years of friendship. 29 years, really, if I counted from second grade. And she thought I just cooked. I looked at Marcus, still standing by my stove, holding my kitchen towel. And the recipes? How many of them are you taking? He shifted uncomfortably. Michelle, come on. You're making this bigger than it needs to be. How many? The concept is different, he said instead of answering. I'm doing modern Italian fusion. Deconstructed classics. Bella Notte is traditional. They're not the same. I walked to the prep counter and started looking through the menu cards. Braised short rib with porcini gnocchi. That was my signature winter dish. Saffron risotto with grilled prawns. I'd developed that recipe after a trip to Venice. Limoncello panna cotta with almond tuile. My grandmother's panna cotta recipe, the one thing she'd given me before she died. My grandmother's recipe. That one, I said, holding up the panna cotta card. That's from my nonna. She taught me how to make it when I was 9 years old. It was the first thing I learned to cook. And you're putting it on your menu? Marcus had the decency to look ashamed. I changed it. I added the almond tuile. I use a different citrus blend. It's not the same. It's the same. My voice cracked. You just stole it and called it innovation. Michelle. My mother's voice was sharp. That's enough. You're being dramatic. Marcus is right, he changed the recipe. You don't own cooking techniques. I turned to her. Really looked at her. She was wearing a new necklace. Diamond pendant. Expensive. The kind my father bought her when he was feeling guilty about something. How long have you known? I asked her. Known what? About this. About Marcello's. About Rachel's investment. About all of it. She glanced at my father. Just for a second. But it was enough. Your father and I have been discussing business opportunities with Marcus and Rachel for about 3 months, she said carefully. We think it's a good investment. 3 months. For 3 months, they'd been planning this. Meeting behind my back. In my restaurant, probably. Planning to gut my staff, steal my recipes, and somehow make me the villain when I objected. And nobody thought to tell me? We were going to tell you, Rachel said. After the conference. We wanted to present it as a complete proposal, something you could see the logic of. The logic of betraying me? Oh my God, Michelle. Rachel slammed her hand on the counter. Everything is not about you. Marcus has dreams too. Thomas wants to grow. I want to expand my portfolio. The world doesn't revolve around you and your precious Bella Notte. The silence that followed was deafening. I looked at each of them. Marcus, avoiding my eyes. Tomas, staring at his shoes. Rachel, her face flushed with anger. My parents, looking at me like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Something inside me broke. Not in the way that shatters. In the way that clarifies. I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Rachel asked. "Calling my lawyer." "Your lawyer?" My father actually laughed. "Michelle, stop being ridiculous." "I'm calling my lawyer," I repeated, "because as of this moment, I'm exercising my rights under our partnership agreement." "Rachel, you just violated Section 8.3. Any business venture involving restaurant operations or food service requires disclosure and approval from both partners. You didn't disclose. You definitely didn't get approval." Rachel's face went pale. "Michelle. Wait. Section 12.1. No partner may use company resources, including intellectual property, for personal gain or competing business ventures. Marcus, you've been developing these recipes using my ingredients, my equipment, my time. That's theft of company resources." I pulled up my lawyer's number. Patricia Chen. The best contract attorney in Portland. The one Rachel had said was too expensive when I wanted to bring her on retainer last year. "And Dad," I continued, my finger hovering over the call button, "you might want to check with your attorney too. Because if you knowingly invested in a business venture that was stealing from your daughter's company, that's conspiracy." That's a fun word. Conspiracy. "You wouldn't," my father said. But his voice wasn't as confident as before. "Try me." I hit call. Patricia answered on the second ring. I stepped away from them, walking toward my office as I spoke. "Patricia? It's Michelle Russo. I'm sorry to call so late, but I need you to draw up some paperwork. Several pieces, actually. First, I need a formal dissolution of partnership agreement. Second, I need a cease and desist letter for theft of intellectual property. Third, I need employment termination paperwork for my head chef and sous chef, effective immediately. And fourth, I need to schedule a meeting first thing tomorrow morning. Can you do that?" I could hear Rachel calling my name behind me, but I didn't turn around. Patricia was asking questions, and I was answering them, my voice steady and professional, despite the fact that my hands were shaking. When I ended the call, I found all four of them standing in the doorway of my office. "You can't fire me," Marcus said. "I have a contract." "A contract that includes a non-compete clause," I replied. "You agreed not to work at or open any competing restaurant within 20 miles of Bella Notte for 2 years after leaving. You signed it. I have your signature." "That's not enforceable," he said, but he didn't sound certain. "We'll let a judge decide." "I'll see you in court, Marcus." I turned to Rachel. "And you? We're done. Our partnership is dissolved as of tonight. I'm buying you out." "You can't afford to buy me out," Rachel said, but she looked worried. "Actually, according to Article 15 of our partnership agreement, in the event of dissolution due to breach of contract, the non-breaching partner has the right to buy out the breaching partner at 60% of fair market value. Since you breached the agreement, I get a discount. My lawyer will send you the paperwork." I'd reread our partnership agreement so many times over the years that I'd memorized it. Every clause. Every subsection. Rachel had never bothered. "And Tomas," I said to my sous chef, who looked like he might cry. "You're fired. I want you out of this building in the next 5 minutes. Leave your keys on the counter." "Michelle, please," he started. 5 minutes. I turned to my parents. My father's face was red, the way it got when he was angry. My mother looked shocked, like I'd slapped her. "As for you two," I said quietly, "get out of my restaurant. And don't come back." "We're your parents," my mother said. "You can't just." "I can. I am. You chose to invest in a business designed to destroy mine. You chose to support people who were stealing from me. You chose them over your own daughter. So I'm choosing me. Get out." "Michelle Louise Russo," my father's voice boomed through the kitchen. "You will not speak to your mother that way." "Or what, Dad? You'll disown me? Stop loving me? Refuse to support me? You already did all of that. When I opened this place, when I needed you, you told me I'd fail. You said I was wasting my money, my time, my life. And I proved you wrong. Every single day for 10 years, I proved you wrong. Bella Notte succeeded despite you. And I'll be damned if I let you and your new investment opportunity destroy what I built. I walked past them, back into the kitchen. Tomas was already gathering his knives, tears streaming down his face. Good. He should cry. Marcus was still standing by the stove, looking lost. This is crazy, Rachel said, following me. Michelle, we can work this out. We can talk about this. We're past talking. You involved lawyers when you drew up the paperwork for Marcelo's. So now I'm involving mine. But we're friends. I stopped and turned to face her. Really face her. This woman I'd known my entire life. The person I'd trusted more than anyone. No, I said. We were friends. Before you decided to steal from me. Before you decided my head chef's ambition was more important than our partnership. Before you tried to restructure our agreement to take more money while doing less work. Friends don't do that, Rachel. Business partners might. But friends don't. Her eyes filled with tears. I never meant to hurt you. But you did. You all did. And now you get to live with the consequences. I spent the next 2 hours documenting everything. I took photos of the menu cards, the food, the setup. I checked the inventory logs, and found Marcus had been testing recipes 3 nights a week for the past 2 months. Hundreds of dollars in ingredients. I checked the security cameras and found footage of all of them, meeting in my restaurant after hours, planning their new venture. The evidence was overwhelming. By midnight, everyone was gone. The restaurant was quiet. I sat in my office, surrounded by 10 years of memories. Photos on the wall of opening night. Reviews from food critics. Awards we'd won. Every one of them felt tainted now. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. You're making a huge mistake. Family is forever. Business partnerships end. Don't throw away your family over this. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I blocked her number. Patricia called at 8 a.m. the next morning. I've reviewed everything you sent me, she said. Michelle, you have a very strong case. Marcus is in violation of his non-compete. Rachel breached multiple sections of your partnership agreement. And the fact that they used company resources to develop a competing business? That's textbook theft. What are my options? Several. First, we send the cease and desist to Marcus and your father. Marcelo's cannot open. If they try, we get an injunction. Second, we proceed with the partnership dissolution. You buy Rachel out at the discounted rate, which, given Bella Notte's current valuation, will be approximately $200,000. Third, we can sue for damages. The use of your intellectual property, the loss of key staff, the breach of contract. We could be looking at $500,000 in damages, maybe more. $500,000. Money I'd never see. Money that would tie me up in court for years. Or, Patricia continued, we negociate. We use the strength of your position to get what you want without going to court. It's faster, cleaner, and you maintain control of the narrative. What would that look like? You tell me. What do you want? I thought about it. What did I want? I wanted my restaurant back. I wanted my staff back. I wanted my recipes protected. I wanted these people out of my life. I want Rachel's share of Bella Notte for $100,000. I want Marcus's non-compete enforced for the full 2 years. I want Tomas blacklisted from every high-end restaurant in Portland. I want my father's investment in Marcelo's to tank. And I want them all to know they can't touch me ever again. Okay, Patricia said. I could hear the smile in her voice. Let me make some calls. The negotiation took 3 days. 3 days of Patricia and Rachel's lawyer going back and forth. 3 days of Marcus calling and texting, trying to apologize, trying to explain. 3 days of my father leaving voicemails that started angry and ended desperate. I didn't answer any of them. On day 4, Patricia called with the final terms. Rachel's agreed to sell her share for $100,000. She's also agreed to sign a non-disclosure agreement regarding all recipes and business practices. Marcus is accepting the non-compete enforcement. He'll shutter Marcelo's before it opens. And your father. She paused. Michelle. Your father lost his entire investment. Without Marcus, there's no restaurant. $200,000. Gone. I should have felt bad. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. And Tomas? Tomas is interesting. I made some calls to chef friends of mine. Put the word out about what happened. Let's just say he's going to have trouble finding work in Portland. Maybe in Oregon. Possibly in the Pacific Northwest. Good. There's one more thing. Rachel wants to talk to you. She says she has something to say in person. No. Michelle. I said no. We're done. Send me the paperwork to sign. The paperwork arrived the next day. I signed it at my desk, in my office, in my restaurant. Every page felt like freedom. I was now the sole owner of Bella Notte. Every brick, every pan, every recipe. Mine. Finding a new head chef took 6 weeks. Finding a new sous chef took less time. I promoted Daniela, my senior line cook, who'd been quietly competent for 6 years. She deserved it. The new head chef, Anthony, came from Seattle. He'd worked at Canlis, one of the best restaurants in the Pacific Northwest. He was talented, professional, and had no interest in opening his own place. He just wanted to cook beautiful food. Perfect. 3 months after that night, Bella Notte was better than ever. The new team was cohesive. The food was exceptional. And I'd raised my prices by 15%. If I was going to be the sole owner, I was going to pay myself what I was worth. I saw Rachel once, at the grocery store. She looked thinner, tired. She tried to smile at me, raised her hand in a small wave. I looked right through her, and kept walking. I heard through the restaurant grapevine that Marcus was working as a private chef for a tech executive. Good money, but no creativity. No glory. No Marcellos. Tomas ended up moving to Boise, Idaho. The word had spread fast about what he'd done. Nobody in Portland's food scene wanted to work with someone who'd betrayed their mentor. My parents tried to reach out multiple times. Cards on my birthday. A flower delivery at Christmas. A letter from my mother saying she missed me and couldn't I please understand they were just trying to help everyone. Help everyone by destroying me. I sent everything back, unopened. On the 1-year anniversary of that night, I held a small celebration at Bella Notte. Just my staff, my real friends, and Patricia, who'd become more than my lawyer. She was someone I trusted. Someone who'd proven loyalty meant something. We toasted to new beginnings. To boundaries. To knowing your worth. Anthony raised his glass. To Michelle. For building something nobody can take away from you. I thought about that night a year ago. About standing in my kitchen, watching my world crumble. About feeling betrayed, abandoned, stolen from. And then I thought about everything that came after. The fight. The paperwork. The boundaries I'd set and enforced. The people I'd cut out of my life like the cancer they'd become. I'd spent 10 years building Bella Notte while trying to make everyone happy. My parents, my partner, my staff. I'd bent over backward, accommodated, compromised. And they'd rewarded me by trying to steal everything I'd built. But now? Now I knew better. To me, I said, raising my glass. For finally learning that the only person I need to make happy is myself. The restaurant erupted in cheers. My restaurant. My kitchen. My success. And nobody, not my parents, not my former best friend, not any chef with ambition and entitlement, could ever take that away from me again. I'd learned the hard way that blood doesn't mean loyalty. That friendship doesn't mean honesty. That partnership doesn't mean trust. But I'd also learned that I was strong enough to walk away from anyone who didn't value me. Strong enough to fight for what was mine. Strong enough to rebuild, even when everyone I'd trusted tried to tear me down. Last month, I heard Marcello's concept was sold to another chef. Different name, different location, my father still trying to recoup his losses. It failed in 8 weeks. Meanwhile, Bella Notte just got its 3rd Michelin star review. The critics called it a triumph of vision and execution under the sole guidance of Chef Michel Russo. Sole guidance. That phrase made me smile every time I read it. I'd started with nothing. Built an empire. Lost my family, my best friend, my head chef. And rebuilt something even better. Because that's what you do when people try to take what's yours. You don't just survive. You thrive. You show them exactly what they lost when they chose betrayal over loyalty. And you never, ever forget the lesson. I don't teach people how to treat me anymore. I show them the door the first time they try. And my life has never been better.